Hello everyone, welcome back. Now in today's video we got a couple of things to discuss, including a signing, a couple of waiver updates, a couple of injury updates as well, and we also got a couple of trade rumors and free agent signings to talk about as we talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, the New York Islanders, the Calgary Flames, and Patrick Kane. Where could he sign? Stay tuned to find out coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Hockey Channel. Before I begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. We are so close to 100 subscribers. I would never be able to do so if you guys. You guys have been so supportive, so thanks for all of that. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. As usual, I'm going to kick things off today by discussing a signing that happened over the past couple of days. It was a ELC that happened with the LA Kings. 2023 third round pick, Ziemmer has signed a 3-year ELC with the LA Kings. That'll have an AAV of $875,000 and will begin either to start this year or next year. So it'll be interesting to see when it starts, but Ziemmer was a really good pick in my opinion in the third round. He was someone who I thought could have gone in the middle of the second round, but the Kings wound up getting a steal in the third round. He was a fantastic player. He's a right winger, so he's got a big future. I think like a solid top 9 forward for the LA Kings. He's another very fantastic offensive prospect for that team. He had 89 points, including 41 goals in 68 games last year in the WHL. So far this year has 7 goals and 26 points in 17 games. So he has continued his hot start from last year. He looks absolutely fantastic, and that's a fantastic start to the season, which is probably why the LA Kings signed into his ELC already. So I don't think he's going to get any sort of NHL or AHL action this year. He'll probably just remain in the WHL for the time being. But in time, either maybe next year or the year after, I think it could definitely get into some maybe AHL action. And I think in the next maybe a year or two, maybe 3 years, Ziemmer could definitely challenge for an NHL spot. He's a very good prospect. I think he has a future as a top 9 forward, and I think it was the right move to sign into his ELC. But it's definitely going to be a little bit of time before Ziemmer is able to get into the NHL, so definitely it's going to take a little bit of time to get to NHL, but still, really good ELC. I think $875,000, Ziemmer is definitely a really good prospect, and I think in time Ziemmer could definitely be a solid either second or third line forward for the LA Kings. So this is a fantastic ELC, this is a fantastic draft pickup, and this is a really good player in my opinion for the LA Kings. Going over to a couple of waiver updates. We talked about this on Tuesday. Remember Thursday we had our mock draft video. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I'll link up in the YouTube cards. We simmed the lottery and we did a top 10 mock draft. So it'll be interesting to see how it actually plays out, but that was my first one of the season, but definitely, so if you haven't checked it out already, check it out. But we did do a news video on Thursday. So on Tuesday we talked about how Jack Stanichka had been on waivers. He was placed on waiver by Canucks. We did not know if he had cleared or not, and he did wind up clearing. So the Canucks, Jack Stanichka, wound up clearing waivers. Not overly surprised. I thought there might have been a couple of takers given the fact he was a very young, talented, top-end prospect who I thought could have definitely been taken, but the Canucks are able to sneak him down on waivers. He clears. He winds up going back to the minors, and the Canucks now have another decent call-up option should some more guys be injured for the Canucks on the forward group. So definitely, that was a solid waiver placement for the Canucks. They're able to retain Jack Stanichka. And we had another one on Wednesday with Emil Bemstrom in Columbus. He was placed on waivers. Bemstrom's a solid young bomb 6 forward right now. Maybe not the best of young players in Columbus, but definitely he was a good player. He can play third, fourth line minutes. He was definitely a decent player for the Columbus Blue Jackets. A lot of people thought he could easily get claimed because he has been a really good bomb 6 forward for the Jackets, but he winded up clearing. So I don't think this is overly surprising. Bemstrom has been in the AHL over the past couple of years as well at times too. He was waivers exempt back then, so not overly shocked that he went back to the AHL given the fact that the Jackets have a really deep team on the forward group and they could definitely look to get some different guys in the lineup too. But I'm a little bit surprised no one took him. He's a good young forward. He can fit in the bottom 6. I thought there would have been at least 1 or 2 teams, especially someone who had injuries, who could definitely take a flyer on Bemstrom for now, but it didn't wind up happening. So the Jackets are able to clear Bemstrom off of waivers. He winds up getting sent down. It's not overly bad stuff there for the Columbus Blue Jackets as they get to keep their young forward, but he's going to go back down to the AHL for now, get some AHL playing time, and probably one of their first call-ups if they run into some more injuries. So it'll be interesting to see for the Jackets, but Bemstrom was placed on waivers, cleared waivers. A little bit surprised that he did wind up clearing waivers, but given the fact that the Jackets' depth in the forward group, I'm not overly surprised that he was the one who wound up getting placed on waivers. So it'll be interesting to see, but the Bemstroms cleared for waivers, the Jackets, Stanichko cleared waivers for the Canucks. And then we had 2 more players being placed on waivers yesterday. Not exactly sure what the outcome is at this recording of this video. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but Dakota Mermis in Minnesota and Patrick Brown in Boston have both been placed off in waivers for the purpose of demotion. So Patrick Brown has sort of fallen out of favor in Boston. He was brought in to be a fourth-line center, started as the fourth-line center, but with the play of Matthew Poitras, as well as the really good depth that this team has, I don't really see the fit for Patrick Brown right now, so they're probably going to send him to the minors, get him some AHL action, and if they start to run into some injuries, they'll probably be the first call-up option. So definitely, it's not overly surprising, I think, that Brown is being placed on waivers. I think there could be a couple of teams. It means a cheap, solid fourth-line center option for a couple of teams who have some injuries. He could definitely be a solid fourth-line center. So I think there could be some teams interested, but I wouldn't guarantee it. I think there's a very likely chance that Brown winds up clearing waivers. Same with Mermis. He's a good 6th, 7th defenseman. He's not the best of defensemen, and maybe a little bit more of an AHL defenseman at this point in time. He was called up because they had the injuries to Spurgeon and a couple of other defensemen. So he was placed on waivers due to the fact that Spurgeon's now back and that they have a really decent defensive group, especially after the addition of Bogosian. He served the same role as Mermis, so I wouldn't be overly shocked if Mermis cleared. I think there's a very likely chance Mermis does clear. I would be a little bit shocked if he was claimed. I think he's more of an AHL spare defenseman right now, and unless there's a team out there who thinks that he could be a very use to that team's NHL roster, I don't really expect him to be a player who winds up getting claimed. So it'll be interesting to see, but Mermis and Brown are both on waivers. I would expect both of these guys to possibly clear. It'll be a little bit shocked if they were to be claimed, but I think Brown would be the more likely one, given the fact he has more NHL time over the past couple of years, and he's a solid fourth-line center. So if there was a guy to be claimed to these two, I would say it was probably Patrick Brown, but definitely it's going to be interesting to see as Brown and Mermis are on waivers. So Bemstrom cleared waivers for the Jackets, Stanichko cleared waivers for the Canucks over the past couple of days, and now Brown and Mermis are both on waivers for the Bruins and the Wild. So those are your waiver updates for the current point in time. We'll have to talk about it on Tuesday to see how Mermis and Brown did. Now going over to a couple of injury updates. We never had an injury update on Thursday as well, as we did our mock draft video. So we'll get to all of the injury updates over the past couple of days. For the Anaheim Ducks, Brock McGinn, who had been on IR for the past couple of games, I think it was a week or two, wound up being activated off of injury reserve and got back into game action. So good to see the Ducks got a solid middle six forward back in their lineup. The Arizona Coyotes lost 3 big pieces on their team. Barrett Hayton has an undisclosed injury. He's going to be out for the next about 5 weeks. So it's going to be a little bit over a month probably until Barrett Hayton's back, probably until sometime in December, so it'll be interesting to see when Hayden gets back, but he suffered a really bad injury after scoring a goal against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's really bad for Hayden to be missing that much time after he's already dealt with so many injuries throughout his career. Valimaki has a face injury. He's probably going to be out for the next couple of weeks. It's possible it could be even longer than that, so really bad blow to lose one of their top-end defensemen for the next little while for Arizona. And then they also lost defenseman Travis Dermott, who has an upper body injury. He's going to be out for an unknown period of time, so really bad stuff there for the Coyotes to lose a solid defender like Dermott. He's been placed on IR, if I'm correct, so really bad stuff there for Dermott, and hopefully he can be back in the not distant future. Then with the Buffalo Sabres, Tage Thompson has a wrist injury. He blocked a shot in not last game, but the game before that. He's going to be out week to week. There's a little bit of concern. It could be possibly even a month or two that he could be out, so really bad injury news for Thompson, who was a top-end player in Buffalo, and hopefully he can return in the not too distant future, but definitely that was a bad blow for Thompson. Then you had Brendan Bureau be activated off of injury reserve. He sent down to the minors, so he's back. That's really good news there. And then Eric Comrie was activated off of injury reserve, got back into game action yesterday. Zach Benson was activated off of injury reserve, got back into game action yesterday. And Alex Tuck recovered from his injury and got back into game action yesterday. So really good stuff there from the Sabres to get Comrie, Benson, and Tuck back. Benson's missed a couple of weeks. Comrie's missed a couple of weeks. Tuck's missed a game or two, so definitely really good to see all those guys get back into game action. For the Calgary Flames, the only injury update is that Jacob Markstrom has returned to the lineup. He's healthy, so really good stuff there for Jacob Markstrom. Carolina Hurricanes activated Ryan Suzuki off a season-opening injury reserve and sent him back to the AHL, so really good stuff there after Suzuki started a season injured. Then we had Taylor Hall's lower body injury be updated. He's going to be a game-time decision for tonight's game against the Nashville Predators, so it'll be interesting to see if he is able to play. For the Colorado Avalanche, Andrew Cogliano has been cleared to play for the Colorado Avalanche, But Josh Manson has an upper body injury. He's out day to day right now, so really bad injury news for Manson. Hopefully he's not out for an overly long period of time, but good to see that Cogliano's back. Then for the Dallas Stars, Thomas Harley suffered an undisclosed injury. He's going to be out day to day right now for the Dallas Stars, so that's a really bad injury blow for the Dallas Stars. Dylan Holloway currently has a knee injury, suffered in one of the recent Edmonton Oilers wins. He's going to be out month to month, with a pretty bad loss for the Edmonton Oilers, given the fact Holloway is a fantastic top 9 forward. As for Bueki and juniors, he's suffered a shoulder injury that could keep him out for the entirety of the season. So that's a prospect for the Edmonton Oilers that they didn't really want to lose. So really bad stuff there for the Edmonton Oilers with their prospect over in juniors. As for Connor Brown, he's been cleared to play. He should get back in the game action either today or in the next couple of games for the Edmonton Oilers and play his 10th game and earns his 10-game bonus. So it'll be interesting to see how the Oilers are able to pay that either this year or next year. But Brown should be able to play in the not-too-distant future. Josh Mahura has a lower body injury. He's in place on IR. He's going to be out for an unknown period of time, so really bad news there for the Panthers. But as they did subtract one defenseman, they added two. Ekblad and Montour, who are both out to start the season. Ekblad on long-term injury reserve, Montour on IR, have both returned to game action. They both returned yesterday against the Anaheim Ducks. So that is a fantastic news for the Panthers. They're able to make do without those two guys and make do with a 10-5-1 record until those guys are able to get back. So definitely, the Panthers were able to weather a storm, and they now have their two best defensemen back. However, Barkov did suffer a knee injury. He's going to be out for an unknown period of time. So really bad news there for the Panthers, and hopefully Barkov isn't out for an overly long period of time. Pierre-Luc Dubois went hard into the net against the Florida Panthers on Thursday. He left the game. He's out with an undisclosed injury. He's going to be out for an unknown period of time. So really bad news for Dubois. Hopefully he's not going to be out for an overly long period of time. For the Montreal Canadiens, Xhekaj left the game against the Vegas Golden Knights due to an upper body injury. He's going to be out day to day right now, so really bad news for the Canadiens. They also lost Rafael Harvey-Pinard, who's out right now with a lower body injury, and he's out day to day, so really bad news there for the Montreal Canadiens, who lose a couple of key forward and the defensemen. Thomas Novak has an upper body injury for the Nashville Predators. He's going to be missing the next 5 weeks, so as we talked about over the last little while, Novak's a really good trade piece for the Nashville Predators, so losing him for the next little while is not overly great. Hopefully he can be back. He's probably going to be out until probably late December, early January, so really bad news there. Timo Meier currently has an undisclosed injury out day to day right now for the New Jersey Devils, so it's another big blow to their offensive group right now in New Jersey. However, they did get Colin Miller back off of injury reserve, so really good news there to get another solid defenseman back. Ryan Lindgren's been cleared to play. He should be able to get back in the game action in the New York Rangers game later today, so it'll be interesting to see Lindgren back after he was suffered an upper body injury a couple days ago. They should also be getting Igor Shesterkin back at some point in the not-too-distant future, so Rangers look like they're going to be getting some new help in the not-too-distant future. You have the Ottawa Senators. Jonas Korpisalo is currently day-to-day right now for the Ottawa Senators, so really bad news there. But Artem Zub was cleared to play and got back in the game action in their first game in Sweden, so that was fantastic news for the Ottawa Senators. The Philadelphia Flyers' Mark Stahl has been cleared to play. He should be able to get back in the game action for the Philadelphia Flyers, so that's a really big boost to the Flyers' decor to get the solid veteran Mark Stahl back in the lineup. The Pittsburgh Penguins had John Ludwig and Alex Nedeljkovic cleared to play. They're currently in the AHL on conditioning stints, so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to get back in the not-too-distant future. And then Jeff Carter, who had an injury that was day-to-day, has also recovered from his injury and has been cleared to play as well, so really good stuff there for the Penguins. Then for the Seattle Kraken, Jordan Eberle, who suffered a cut to his leg in practice a couple of days ago, wound up getting cleared to play and play for the Seattle Kraken against the New York Islanders, so really good stuff there. As for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Eric Chernak, who suffered an injury a couple of days ago, was cleared to play, got back in the game action for Tampa Bay Lightning. Meanwhile, Anthony Cirelli left the game on Thursday against the Chicago Blackhawks. He's going to be out for an unknown period of time with an undisclosed injury, so really bad stuff there for the Tampa Bay Lightning. On top of that, you have the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have an undisclosed injury for John Klingberg. He's going to be out for an unknown period of time. Really bad injury news there for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who he probably might miss the next game for the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. As for the Vancouver Canucks, they had a couple of bad injury updates. Pierre Suter has an undisclosed injury out day to day, so really bad news to lose their third-line center. But the more pressing injury news was that the Vancouver Canucks lost Carson Seuss, solid second, third pair defenseman. He's going to be out for the next 2 months due to a foot injury, so absolutely awful news there for the Vancouver Canucks to lose Suter for the next little while. Nicholas Roy has been cleared to play and activated off of injury reserve and should get back in the not-too-distant future for the Golden Knights. So fantastic news there for Vegas. The Washington Capitals got Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Anthony Mantha, and Darcy Kemper cleared to play, and they should all be back for the Washington Capitals next game. So Van Riemsdyk's been out for a little while due to an injury. Kemper suffered an injury just a couple days ago, and Mantha's been on injury reserve for a little bit. So good to see all of those guys are back in the game action for the Capitals in the not-too-distant future. And then top of those for Winnipeg Jets, Rasmus Kupari suffered a shoulder injury. It's going to keep him out probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, which will be probably until early to like mid-January. So it'll be interesting to see, but definitely some interesting stuff there from a lot of teams. Hopefully some of these guys like Hayton and Valimaki and Kupari and a couple of these other guys can get back in the not-too-distant future, but we definitely had a lot of guys get back off of injury reserve, especially guys like Ekblad Montour. So definitely, we've seen some guys go down with injury. We've seen some guys recover from injury, so definitely interesting to see, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how long those guys are going to be out for. And lastly, we're going to touch on a couple of trade rumors and signing updates. We'll start with Patrick Kane. There's a lot of talk right now that Patrick Kane is starting to narrow down his team list. It sounds like he's got as much as about 8 teams that he's going to be talking to over the next week. According to Elliot Friedman, that I discussed on the 32 Thoughts podcast, he said there's a lot of teams who could possibly have interest in him, but this is going to be up to Kane. He thinks that term could be a factor here. He says that Kane doesn't really want to be moving his family, so he may be willing to sign more likely a 2-year deal than a 1-year deal. The money may also be a concern because there's a lot of teams out there who are contenders right now who would love to add Patrick Kane, who don't really have a ton of cap space. So in order to sign Kane, they would need to sign him to a really cheaper deal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of teams interested in Kane. On the 32 Thoughts podcast, Freeman said that given the fact that Kane may decide to go with more term, it may put teams like Buffalo and Detroit maybe in the mix as well, given the fact that those two teams are young, up-and-coming teams who could definitely make the playoffs, if not this year, then the next year or two. So definitely, it'll be interesting to see, but we've heard about Buffalo, his hometown team, possibly could go to Buffalo. We've heard about Detroit. The reunion with the Brinkets would be a fantastic opportunity for him. Detroit's also a team who's very up-and-coming. They've not done overly well since their very hot starts, but definitely, I think this team could definitely compete in the next year or two, so it'll be interesting to see. On top of that, we've heard could the Florida Panthers have some interest to add as another lethal weapon on the forward group after their hot start? We've heard the Boston Bruins at some points in time, maybe not recently, but we've definitely heard about them. They could definitely use another top-end scorer on the wing, so definitely could they have some interest in Kane. There's been some talk about Toronto and New York Rangers, but those two have been sort of debunked. It sounds like Toronto's sort of focused on their defense right now, and the Rangers don't have a whole bunch of interest in bringing Kane back, so it sounds like those two are not going to be interested, but I've also heard could the Devils have some interest? Playing with Jack Hughes, I think, could have some interest. Could the Penguins have some interest that they could fill under their cap, add another very good veteran to their team? Could there be another couple of teams? Islanders, they're looking for some scoring help right now. We've also heard some Central Division teams like the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche in the past who could possibly be interested, but Elliot Friedman also said the Dallas Stars are also just sort of like the Leafs, sort of concentrating on possibly adding a defenseman, and they don't really want to add another forward at this point in time, so it sort of sounds like Dallas is not overly concerned with adding a guy like Patrick Kane, so it'll be interesting to see. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think the term is, what do you think the AAV is, and which team do you think is most likely to land Kane. Personally, I think if he was to sign a 1-year cheap deal to possibly go on a playoff run, I think a team like Dallas makes a lot of sense if they are willing to sign him. Colorado makes a lot of sense, being one of the top teams in the Central Division and in the Western Conference. Boston, I think, would make some sense, given the fact they're one of the better teams in the NHL right now. Florida would make sense. Jersey, I think, would definitely make sense. So those are some of the teams I could see him sign like maybe a cheap 1-year deal with. I could definitely see Detroit and Buffalo stand a more better opportunity to be teams he signs with for a couple of years if he was to sign like a 2 or 3 year deal. But definitely, it'll be interesting to see what sort of a deal he gets. But it sounds like he's going to sort of start to whittle down his team. It's not like he's talking to 8 teams right now. He'll start to whittle it down probably in the next week or two, and then eventually he'll probably sign. So it'll be interesting to see, but after major surgery, he'll probably start out on teams like 3rd or 2nd line and sort of show that he's still very, very capable of playing. So it'll be interesting to see, but definitely teams like Detroit, Buffalo, Boston, Jersey, Florida, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Colorado are some teams who I think could definitely possibly be interested in Patrick Kane. And even though it sounded like were possibilities earlier on, it sounds like Toronto and New York Rangers are not interested right now in adding Kane, possibly even not even Dallas. And it'll be interesting to see where Kane winds up going. So interesting stuff there, but that's fantastic news that Kane's nearing a return and he should be signing in the not-too-distant future. Going over to the Columbus Blue Jackets on the 32 Thoughts podcast with Elliotte Friedman yesterday, he was talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets and said that Jackets don't look overly good right now. We already know this. They've lost 11 of 12 games over the past little while. They started out pretty alright. They were just above 500 in the first 6 or 7 games, but since then they've not done overly well. They've lost a ton of games. They're 4-9-4 right now. He says they never stopped looking for a second-line center, which I found interesting. They have Fantilli, they have Sillinger, they have a couple of other young guys who could definitely play center roles, but it sounds like they still are in the market for a second-line center or a first-line center, so it'll be interesting to see if they wind up getting that. I can see the Jackets have some interest in Elias Lindholm, whether it be right now or possibly in the offseason as a free agent. I could see him have interest in getting Kuznetsov. A guy who I do wonder about, if he was to come available, will be Logan Couture. I think Couture could be a fantastic top-line center, a sort of veteran top-line center presence for that Columbus Blue Jackets team. They have cap space, so I could see them be a team who tries to get Couture from San Jose as like their top 2 center. So it'll be interesting to see, but that was something that was really interesting to hear, that they never really stopped looking for a top 2 center, even after getting Fantilli, and they could still try and add another top-line center. On top of that, he also said that they still are looking to move a defenseman. He says that we've talked about Peak for a while. We have. It's been a really interesting affair. Like we said, Canucks have been interested. There have been a couple of other teams who have been interested, so it'll be interesting to see if Peak is the one who has to move. He says there's also been a couple of teams who've checked in on Adam Boqvist, who's a solid, younger right shot defenseman, more of an offensively minded defenseman. So there's possible options there for the Jackets to move a Peak or a Boqvist. But he says there's a possibility that the moves that they make in the not-too-distant future could be even bigger than we originally thought. So it'll be interesting to see if they're looking to add another center. I don't think it'll be just a Peak or a Boqvist who ends up getting moved. At this point in time, I don't think they really want to move their first-round pick, given where they are in the standings. But definitely, I think there's a very likely chance they could try and add another center, move a defenseman or two, and maybe try and improve this team, because they have not looked overly well to start the season. This was supposed to be a season where they were improving, maybe not making the playoffs. I would definitely think with the amount of teams they need to jump, playoffs were very, very unlikely for the Jackets, but they need to start competing for the playoffs, and having a 4-9-4 start is not going to help them. So it'll be interesting to see if the Jackets can get out of the slump today, but definitely, I think there's a very likely chance we could see them add a center, either now or possibly in the offseason, move a defenseman or two, whether it be Peak or Boqvist, or possibly both, and maybe they wind up making a big trade. So it'll be interesting to see, but that's sort of the rumors on the Jackets. As for the New York Islanders, according to Elliotte Friedman, he's mentioned this a couple of times now, he says the Islanders have some needs that they're looking to fill. He says Lou Lamoriello is not just sitting back and watching this team lose. He is trying to make some sort of trades, sort of seeing what's out there. Lamoriello really didn't do much this offseason. He basically kept the team pat, signed Mayfield, Engvall, Varlamov to interesting long-term extensions. So, like I said, signed those guys to short-term, like 2-3-year deals. Wouldn't have been bad, but they signed to like 7-year deals, Varlamov 4. So it was really confusing, but this Islanders team did not change this offseason, and a lot of people, including myself, thought the Islanders may take a little bit of a step back and wind up missing the playoffs this year. And so far, they're not doing overly well. They've had 1 win in the last 7 or 8 games, I think, and they could definitely use some help offensively. So definitely, Elliotte Friedman says they're looking for a scoring forward, they're looking for a top-end defenseman, and they could have some interest in Calgary's defenseman. Now, in my opinion, they have a solid defensive group already. They don't need another defenseman. You have Pelech and Pulak, who are really good top-pair defensemen. You have Dobson, who's emerged as a fantastic offensive defenseman. You have Romanov, who really rounds out that top 4 well. And then you have Mayfield, who's a solid 5th defenseman. If you add a Hanifin or a Tanev or a Zadorov, who are the Flames defensemen right now, or even someone else from another thing, you're just bumping down Aho or Bolduc down to the minors, or possibly moving him in a trade. So I don't think they need another defenseman. They have a solid defensive group right now, like I said. I don't think they would need a defenseman, given how well their defensive core is right now with Pelech, Pulock, Dobson, Romanov, and Mayfield. But it sounds like they are interested in the market for the defenseman. Like I said, I think they should focus more on scoring rather than adding another defenseman. But that's sort of what the rumors are right now. The scoring forward, I think they need desperately. They were supposed to add another scoring forward in the offseason. They never did. They could definitely benefit from adding another top-end goal scorer. I think they could definitely really benefit from that. So I'm not overly surprised they'd be looking for a top-end goal scorer. I'm not exactly sure what sort of names will be out there right now. I could see him look to add maybe like one of the Canucks forwards. We've heard about them being possible moves like a Garland or a Beauvillier. I could see them add one of those two. On top of that, I could see maybe a guy like Victor Olofsson, Anthony Mantha, if they can make the cap work. Those are two guys who I think could possibly be guys who wind up getting moved. So it'll be interesting to see, but it sounds like the Als are in the market for scoring forward, and Elliot Friedman did say that a guy who could wind up being moved in a trade package to add maybe a defenseman or a forward would be Oliver Wahlstrom. He's definitely not had the best of opportunities in New York Islanders. It may be time for a fresh start. I said, especially with the Calgary Flames, if they were to trade a defenseman to the New York Islanders, after trading Toffoli, they acquired Sharangovich, who was a good, solid young forward. So if they are going to try and trade one of their defensemen, they could definitely use another solid, good young forward like a Wahlstrom. So he says that maybe Wahlstrom is one of the guys who ends up getting moved, and he could see Wahlstrom eventually, if he's not getting overly good production, say that maybe his best for his career is possibly move on from the Islanders. So it'll be interesting to see. Another guy I've heard possibly be mentioned to go out from the Islanders would be Jean-Gabriel Pageau, who has a couple of years left at a $5 million cap, and so a solid third-line center. So definitely, it'll be interesting to see, but it sounds like Wahlstrom, Pageau could be on the block, and Als could look for a scoring forward and a top-end defenseman, possibly from the Calgary Flames. So it'll be interesting to see. And talking about the Calgary Flames, there's a lot of speculation right now about the Flames. The Flames are in the midst of a really good stretch right now, going 4-1-1 in their past 6 games. They're not overly bad. They're only 2 games below 500 right now, which is fantastic news for them. But there's still a lot of talk that they're going to try and move a lot of pieces. Now, according to Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts podcast, he said that before the Zadorov trade request, there were a lot of discussions around the other 2 defensemen, Tanev and Hanifin, which is probably one of the reasons why Calgary Flames were rumored to possibly be having trade talks with Hanifin around the Arizona Coyotes. It just makes a ton of sense as to why that happened. But it sounds like Zadorov really got bumped up to the top end of the scale after his trade request. And it sounds like the Flames are open for business. It sounds like, according to Pierre LeBrun on TSN Insider Trading a couple days ago, he said that they're not putting up the for sale sign, but they're definitely open for business. It sounds like the Flames are really open to moving some of their UFAs. Like we said, Hanifin has been mentioned in the trade talks in the offseason, early part of this year. I think there's a very likely chance Hanifin gets moved, and they could get like a first-round pick and a decent level prospect for him. Tanev, solid top 4 defensive defenseman. There's been some talk around him over the past little while. He could be in the package with Zadorov. There's been some talk, including around Elliot Friedman, who said that they could possibly package Tanev and Zadorov and trade them to the same team in a trade package. So it'll be interesting to see if that possibly happens. But Tanev's a solid top 4 right shot defenseman, a guy who can really fit in well in a top 4, and a guy who I definitely think could really work with the team. So it'll be interesting to see if Tanev gets moved. Zadorov's a really good, solid physical third pair defenseman. Like we said, Boston has interest, Florida has interest, Jersey has interest, Toronto has interest. There's definitely a handful of other teams. Vancouver has interest. Elliot Friedman said that Vancouver and Toronto are 2 of the teams who have been getting the most speculation, but there's a ton of other teams who have interest in Zadorov, so definitely it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Lindholm, solid top 6 center. Team who needs center depth would really like Lindholm, so I could definitely see Lindholm be a possible option for a trade as well. And then according to Darren Dreger on the Insider Trading video as well, he said that it's possible that Nazem Kadri could become available too. He says that he's signed in Calgary, he wants to remain in Calgary, but if the team were to go down more rebuild type approach, then Kadri will most likely want to move on. So it'll be interesting to see how far and deep this rebuild goes, or retool, whatever it is. Like I said, I think there's a very likely chance that all 4 of the UFAs in Lindholm, Hanifin, Tanev, and Zadorov wind up getting moved. I still think there's a very likely chance Vladar gets moved so they can bring up Wolf on a consistent NHL basis. Besides that, I think there's a very likely chance they could look to move other players as well. I think the next ones they could possibly look at would be Mangiapane and Sharangovich. Both those two are going to be a year away from the UFA status, and there's a possibility that those two may not want to resign in Calgary, so there's a possibility I think those two could get moved. And I think if it gets worse enough and they do really want to go for a rebuild, maybe there's a chance that Kadri or Waiver or Kirouac, if they could find someone and take him on, could also be moved. So it'll be interesting to see, but it sounds like the Flames are really open for business, and it sounds like they could be making some significant moves in the not too distant future. Definitely. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this down in the comments. What do you think about the Calgary Flames? Do they move Hanifin, Tanev, Zadorov, Lindholm? If they do, where do you think they go? And what do you think the trade package is for the Calgary Flames getting back? And do you think there's a possibility guys like Mangiapane, Sharangovich, Vladar, Kadri, Uyghur wind up getting moved in the not too distant future as well? Definitely love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think that the Islanders wind up adding a scoring forward? Are they able to do that to improve their scoring offense? Do you think it's a good idea for the Islanders to add a defenseman? And do you think that's a possibility? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Do the Jackets add a second line center either before a trade deadline this year or in the offseason? I think it's a very likely possibility. And do you see Peak or Boqvist being moved? And if so, where do you see them going? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Do you see Kane wind up being signings elsewhere? Is it Detroit? Is it Buffalo? Is it Florida? Is it New Jersey? Is it elsewhere? I definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Where do you think Kane will sign? What do you think his term and his AAV will be? And definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on everything else. What do you think about the waiver updates? What do you think about the signing updates? And what do you think about the injury updates? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But that's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you really liked it, remember to subscribe down below. We are so close to 100 subscribers. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to do so without you guys. So don't forget to subscribe. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So definitely check that out. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.